The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. You know, it's Wednesday, and I love me some Wednesday. Usually we start out the show with Ask Dr. Doreen, and Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh answers your questions in real time. We did tell you last week that Dr. Granpeesheh wasn't going to be here with you this morning, and I told you I had a big surprise for you. Well, I do. Here with me in the studio, and I'm gonna welcome her in just a second, but I'm telling you right now that Joanne Lara is here and she's got a new book out and you're going to love it. So we're going to be talking about that, and she's going to be here with you, and you can write in your questions for her about anything under the sun, really, because she's such a wealth of knowledge. But particularly this morning, we're going to be talking about getting our kids job ready and why we don't wait until they're 24 to start worrying about that, right? So we're going to be talking about that. But before we do that, I want to remind you that the entire show is meant to be interactive, and we today, for the first time, are live on Twitter and Periscope at the same time as we are live on everything else. So this is very exciting today. If you're just checking us out on Twitter, welcome. We're a show that's been here for a while. We will take your questions. And in fact, there are lots of different ways that you can ask questions, and Samantha's going to run through some of the gambit of how you can be watching the show, some of the ways that you can connect with us. While she does that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. And when you go there, you will see that there are a lot of things to take in on that page, but most importantly, it looks like a desktop and there's a computer screen, right? If you click on the computer screen, the little triangle that's on it, it will start the show playing, either the live show, if you catch us during live times, or it will show the most recently recorded live show, because we podcast all of our shows. So if you want to go back in time, of course, you can look in all the different ways that Samantha's showing you, or if you're on that autism-live.com, just click on the memo tab that's in the upper left-hand corner, and you can cycle back through the 100 most recent shows. Now, to the side of all that is what we call the live feature. If you put your cursor in the box that says your question, you can just type and hit enter, and it shows up here on my screen, in addition to all the other ways that you can type to us. Now, here's the advantage of writing to us on the live feature. It's completely anonymous. If you're writing to us on Twitter, if you're writing to us on YouTube or Facebook, other people are going to be able to see and identify who is asking the question. And if you want to ask a question with anonymity, you can do that on our live feature. There is no login, there's no username, there's no password, there's no credit card. It's totally free, and I don't know who you are. Nobody knows who you are. If you want to tell me private information, you can do so, and I won't share it because I get to make the choice of whether we show it on the screen or not. So how's that? Having said all of that, I want to welcome here, you've been sitting so patiently and waiting, and I appreciate you, one of the, I think, most amazing people on the face of the earth. Joanne Lara is here, and she is such a wealth of knowledge. She's such a good person. Let's start with that, because I think it's important in this day and age to talk about when people are good people. And you guys know, if, by the way, we welcome everyone to this forum, whether you're a teacher, a parent, a practitioner, or especially if you yourself are someone on the autism spectrum, we welcome you to this forum. But I want to take just a moment to talk about trust in this community and how hard it is to find somebody to trust. And I think you are one of the most trusted and most revered people in this community. You've been working in this field for a very long time and have dipped your toe into many different things to make it better. I don't even know where to start, Joanne, but you teach, You teach at National University.
I do, yes.
And help to make the next generation of teachers and practitioners understand how to appropriately interact with our kids. You have a credential in moderate to severe and have worked in the school system for more than a decade, working one-on-one with our kids and now supervising the people who work one-on-one with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have autism movement therapy, a wonderful program that you created to help kids to connect body and cognitive together. That's amazing. And you train people literally all over the world to be able to do that. And amongst all of that, see, I'm getting goosebumps, Joanne. Amongst all of that, when you saw that your students were hitting a wall and reaching a certain age, that there wasn't anything for them, so you started Autism Works Now. Mm-hmm. You have been pivotal in the community of trying to figure out how do we get our kids to work successfully, because it's not just enough to say work. And now, as of this week, you've got a new book out, co-authored with Susan Osborne, so we don't want to leave Susan out.
Absolutely.
She's in a classroom today, which is why she can't be with us.
That's right. She's in Culver City High School.
There you go. Mm-hmm. And the book is Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds, the Autism Works Now Method. So love this book. In fact, if you crack it open, you will see that I have a blurb here that the first word I said was brilliant, because that's what I mean. This is something, and the foreword is by Temple Grandin. Yes. One of the first quotes that you'll see about the book is from Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. I mean, come on. This is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And this is
so proud of this book. So proud of this book.
Tell people about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell people about it. And this book is designed to replicate the program, just like the Autism Movement Therapy Methods book, which I have here too.
There you go.
I'm also proud of this book.
Absolutely.
We want replication. So what we're looking for is people to take this book and replicate the program, which is an 8-month program, once a week session, and we're going to talk more about it, I think, later on in the session. But it's a 2-hour, once a week session, and in the book, at the back of the book, all the worksheets that align with each week are in the book. And you can also download them. So you can download them as a worksheet week by week. So we really tried to make it friendly for educators, for organizations that want to adopt a work program. We've done it for you. You don't have to recreate the wheel. It's right here for you.
It's the keys to the kingdom. So often we feature things on the show, and we've had you before on the show talking about Autism Works Now, and you've had a class, and people come to the class, the weekly class, and they get to do amazing things. And we've even had your class on the show.
Yes, that was great.
Really exciting. And people will write in and say that sometimes it feels like a tease, like there's so much going on in Los Angeles, but they're in Hoboken, or they're in Topeka, and they go, what is there for me?
Yes.
And we always talk about the power of one, and that one person can make a huge difference, right? And what Joanne has done for you is, with the power of one, because two of you sat down and put everything that you had together, and they've given you the power of one. So if you buy the book, you can make this happen where you are.
That's right. And we need this community needs to be working. This community needs to work with respect and dignity. And I think we've come a long way. As you know, this book started with Temple Grandin and Friends, Autism Works Now, here in Los Angeles in 2015. And Temple was our kickoff. We started a movement for employers to embrace the idea of employing individuals on the autism spectrum. And I think in 2.5 years, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of progress in 2.5 years.
Absolutely. And I think for those of you who are watching who are like, 14, my kid just turned 14, and there's a little bit of a skid that happens at 14 that you go, whoa! Because, the ITP process, if you're lucky, starts. and you need to bring it up. And
Okay.
and Joanne is a big expert and has a big proponent for bringing it up. And we've done shows with you before. You can Google Joanne Laura Autism Live, and you'll see we've done extensive things about the ITP process.
That's right.
But you said something the last time you were on the show that has really shifted my thinking. And not only for my son, but for everybody. And at one point you said, everybody in our community needs and deserves a job. And I was like, well, you know, I meet parents all the time who are like, oh no, my child's not going to be able to work.
That's right.
My child's not going to be able to. And you said, no, everybody. And I've really had to take that and roll it over and go, okay, I respect Joanne so much, but I don't know. And everywhere I've gone, I've taken that little nugget with me and kind of like held it up to the circumstance and said, well, now wait a second. Would this person really benefit from working? And I keep finding that you're right. And it's
going to make me cry because, you know, the model, and I've talked about this extensively right now, is school to couch.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that. You know, we think back into the 50s and the 60s, the way that we looked at employment and disabilities, because I think it's important to do that, and so we can mark where we are. And still some people have that old idea of when you say, oh, employment for individuals with disabilities, don't they go somewhere and stuff envelopes? I mean, that is a reality.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be further from that, except for sheltered workshops. And as you know, there are sheltered workshops still. California happens to be one of the biggest, and I like to call it, offenders of sheltered workshops because they can pay sub-minimum wage.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you know, I was part of Hillary Clinton's Disability Employment Task Force team. That was one of Hillary's talking points, getting rid of sheltered workshops. And it looks like this, if you don't mind. A big room where 250 people are sitting at long benched tables sorting candy, for example, for Nestle's. And that looks like Valentine candy, Halloween candy, Christmas candy, holiday Easter candy, and being sent back to Nestle's. The issue is it's for $5 a day, and that's on a good day. So this is not the kind of employment we're looking for. We're looking for meaningful employment, looking for assessing the individual, which is what we do with Autism Works now. We start with an assessment, a formal assessment, not just a, what do you think you want to do with the rest of your life,
right.
Which does happen in a school system, I'm sad to say, in IEP meetings, because I've been in those IEP meetings.
Yes.
We want formal assessment tools used. We want to know where the skill set lies, and how, once we know where the skill set lies, how are we going to serve the individual with the skill set?
But I think it all comes down to, in the end, empowering our community, right? Which means empowering individuals who are on the spectrum. It means empowering their parents. It means empowering teachers. And that's really what this book does, is that it puts the tools, you don't, as you said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It puts the tools right here in your hand, and it gives you things to do today to help you to get your child ready. And it does not matter. There are things in here that will help you if your child is someone that you did not previously think was going to be able to work. Let's be honest about that. Let's expand your mind for that. But also for those of us who are on the other side of the thing, where I have every expectation that my child will work, but Joanne is because Joanne sits there and says, well, yeah, don't just ride that to the bank, Shannon. There's stuff that you need to be doing, or you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt when he goes to the first job and he isn't able to complete the tasks and get along with everybody, and there are complaints, and he gets sent home, and then you have to have him apply for the second job. And we have seen that. Like, that's a reality. So we all need to be going through our paces. It's like anything else in life that we would be getting ready for.
That's right.
But we just didn't have the book on how to do it before. And now, as of today, you have it. So now tell us, Joanne, this is put out by Jessica Kingsley. And where can we get it?
On the autismworksnow.org website, and also on the autismmovementtherapy.org website in the store. You can also get it at Jessica Kingsley's, but better to buy it from our nonprofit.
Yes.
So.
And can you also get it on Amazon yet?
Yeah,
Or
I
is
think
that-
Amazon. Is there something called Amazon Prime? Because I saw
Yes.
somebody put that up.
Yes.
Okay, so Amazon Prime, and there were like 3 other locations. Jessica does a pretty good job of getting it out there.
Yeah.
You can also get it on ebooks.
Right? There we go.
So you can read it on your tablet. But I want to make a point. We have here the like the 8-month perspective
Yes.
of what each month is about for the sessions themselves
Yes.
that we have here. And we already have been up and running for, this is our 3rd fall. This will be our 3rd season in the fall.
Yeah.
And so
Actually, starting classes on October 5th.
October 5th. In
Yes.
2 locations. We've just expanded. We're in Woodland Hills here, courtesy of Dr. Graham Pichet. Thank you very much.
Can I just say, she believes so much in what you're doing that she said, what can I do and how can I help? And
I said, give us a space, and
right,
she did.
because in Los Angeles,
amazing.
space is expensive.
Exactly.
And who wants to spend their money on that? Instead, and you raised quite a bit of money, you spent it on getting computers so that they had the ability to do the work that they were doing on computers.
That's right. Everybody has a Chromebook,
which is amazing.
And so each of the candidates have a Chromebook because it's technology driven. Hey, let's face it. I mean, this is the catchphrase.
Yeah.
You can't have a job if you don't have an email.
Right. And if
Bottom
you
line.
don't know how to send things, I love that Temple always talks about you got to have a digital portfolio, and you
Right.
got to know, you got to
Carry it on your phone.
and it's got to, because she's all about embrace the technology.
Yes.
And but that's one thing to say to somebody, but you make it possible for them to be able to. You start with the basics of getting
Right.
the email, how to email,
Google Docs.
how to do Google Docs, how to be able to send things, how to follow through. Should I just go through what
Yeah,
the different
I think
classes
it's
are?
important, yeah.
So the first week it's identifying careers and job options. Really assessing their strengths.
And what do they want to do?
Yes.
What do they? It's
Because it
important.
needs to be meaningful to them. And
It shouldn't be shuffled off to a sheltered workshop to sort candy.
if that's not what your passion
If that's
is.
not what your passion is.
Exactly. Week 2, professional email communication and time management. I mean, it's all that
Time management,
executive
big.
function stuff. I
Frontal
need that
lobe.
class. Thank you. Sign me up.
Frontal lobe.
I need to go. I have smooth frontal lobe. Okay, class number 3. It's workplace software and storing important documents. Joanne, I do need this class.
You have to come.
I do need this class.
have to
Did you
come.
see when I opened my desk drawer today to find something? Did you
No,
see that it
no,
was
is it
like
just
you know,
overflowing?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I need this class. Okay, class number 4, workplace attire. Oh, thank you, Joanne.
Yes,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for.
That's a biggie for us,
Of
you know.
course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Class number 5, interview essentials. And boy, you take that and put legs on it because you take it out to many different places. Class number 6, networking, creating a professional online presence. Class number 7 is essentials of connecting to coworkers, colleagues, and supervisors.
Biggie.
You can't be successful unless you know how to do this. And then class number 8, self-advocating in the workplace and important workplace rules. What do you want to talk about in that mix? Because it's all important.
So each one of those is a month.
Yeah.
And then one of those sessions in that month is designed to go on a field trip. And what we do is each of our candidates has a question that they come up with for the person that we're interviewing when we go to the field trip.
It's amazing.
So we have we get to utilize the skills for the candidates, we call them candidates, in each one of the field trips. Last year we went to LA Parent.
The magazine.
Yes, we went to Actors Gang. We
Yes.
went to Chuck Schaffler
Yes.
he's COO of FX.
Yes.
Lovely. He has a huge boardroom. He's so good with our candidates. He goes one by one and asks each one of them, what do you want to do with your life? It's important to have a plan. It's amazing. we have had nothing but buy-in from the community in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. This year, I think we want to go to the Lakers. I mean, everybody's like, come.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, it is amazing, and again, we can't emphasize enough that if you want to get started on this and you are not here in the Los Angeles area, you've got a 14 to 17-year-old, it really starts
Or even
earlier.
older.
Well, the truth is that if you have a 24-year-old, jump right into this. It's not too late to do that.
No, absolutely not. And you know, I went back and forth. I'm going to be honest with Jessica Kingsley and my editor, because they're out of London, and they insisted on the 14 to 17-year-olds, and I wanted it to be broader.
Yeah.
But that's what they wanted, and they're the publisher, so I had to go with it.
And the truth is, I don't disagree with them, because I think most of the autism community knows when you've got a 22-year-old, and if you see that this is for 14 to 17-year-olds, but you know that you don't have pre-employment skills, you're going to get the book anyway.
Yeah, I hope.
Whereas
Yeah.
if it said pre-employment skills, I have a 14-year-old, and I would have been like, oh, that's great, I'll pick that up when he's 21. And I would have been wrong. So
Right,
I think
exactly.
this really
That's
is,
true.
is
That
the
is
right
a good
thing.
point. Also, another point is that when you incorporate that I think that they wanted to send the message that we've got to start earlier.
Yes.
And that's what we all know. We're waiting too late to talk about the employment process.
Yes.
And even 14, we should begin, our parents who are listening, and educators, we need to begin to talk about jobs just like we do with our neurotypical kids when they're 5 and 6 and 7 years old. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an attorney. I want to be a horsewoman. I want to be an Olympian. Yeah. Okay, then we need to honor that. What we've been doing in the past, and rightly so, is because parents don't want to be, as I say, don't want to be made liars. Parents have been, when the child says, I want to be a doctor. I have a lot of kids that in an elementary school setting who are in a special day class, an autism class, will say they want to be doctors and attorneys. Okay, good, yay. All right, so maybe they're not going to get that credential, but they can work in a medical field. They can work in a law office. There are jobs that are not just the doctor,
Right.
the attorney, that our kids can do.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to embrace them.
Well, and I think also, too, if we're completely honest here, I think and in a moment we're going to talk about, we went to a play and this weekend that we both loved, and there was a thing, I don't want to give anything away, but there was a moment in which I got very, very emotional. Yes. Because it talks about this. When, as a parent, our kid, who maybe people are telling us is moderate to severe, and in our kids, we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say doctor. And then you got all these people who are saying, well, they're probably not going to be able to do that. It creates this schism, right? Because the parents feels like, well, I want to be able to feed that. But we get a little paralyzed because we go, well, realistically, all the experts are telling me they're not going to be able to do that, but the kid says they want to be a doctor. And so often, at least twice a week, we get a parent who writes in and says, what do I do with my teenager who has these, big plans? They want to be, the owner of the mall.
Right.
Right? Like they don't want to just have a store,
right,
or, own a store.
Right.
They want to own the entire
mall. They want
to
run the mall.
They want to run the mall, but they're unwilling to work in the clothing store, putting tags on to work up. And I think it's important that we all realize that even if there were a completely neurotypical child who said, I want to be a doctor.
That's right.
We would say, all right, then you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z to get to that. And along the way, that neurotypical child might realize, okay, I really am not going to do all the things to do a doctor, but along the way they go, but maybe I'll be the person who, pushes the pill cart and signs out the meds, or maybe I'll be a phlebotomist and I'll take the blood out. Right? They figure out their place, and we don't say to them no, and we don't sit around and wait. We start them, if the neurotypical kid says, I want to be a doctor, we go out and buy them a doctor case.
Yeah.
The Fisher-Price one.
Yeah.
But, we start them on the path of behaving
because
in a
it's
way.
Relatively a new idea. That's what it is, Shannon. It's relatively a new idea that our kids can take on professional roles.
Yeah.
And so parents don't know how to work with it. I want to say encourage, encourage, encourage. Look, I wanted to be a vet. I'm not a vet.
Right.
I'm not a vet.
But you love animals.
I love animals. I have 6 of them. And 6 animals.
There was a moment there.
Oh my gosh.
The realization.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I feed 6 animals, you know.
Yes.
But look, we are rarely the person we wanted to be in first grade.
Right.
Or second, or even in high school. So the reality of employment is it's going to change. It is a process. You don't start at the top. And I don't encourage any parent to say, you want to be a doctor? Okay, you're going to be a doctor.
Right.
But I think what we can do is, again, say, you might be a doctor, but that's a process.
Yes.
You don't get to be a doctor. It takes 16 years to be a doctor.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a long process. So a professional role is a long process.
Yeah.
So how do you encourage your neurotypical child in a professional role? Do the very same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And our kids are going to have to succeed and fail.
Yes.
Just like all of our other kids.
Yes. But we've got to start the process sooner. And this helps us get on the way. So love that. Again, teaching pre-employment skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. It's available right now. You can get it on Amazon, but you know, with all books, the preference is to get it directly from the person.
Yes, and I'll sign it.
There you go. So what's the website that they want to go to be able to find it?
autismworksnow.org or autismmovementtherapy.org.
Okay.
Both of the sites you can order.
And order it there, and then Joanne will sign it for you. You have to make sure you sign mine before you leave today.
I know I want to.
And you know, in that way, it's always better. It's less expensive than doing it through Amazon.
It is.
And more of the money goes to the people who have done the book.
And it goes to the program.
Which is important.
Yeah.
So make sure that you do that. And plus, which then you'll be on the site and you can see all the other things that are going on. Mm-hmm. All right, we're
like the Larry King event,
which we're going to talk about in just a second. But we need to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk about that and about a book signing that you've got coming up, and about when we went, Joanne and I and a whole bunch of other people went to see The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Oh, get the tissues ready, because I'm going to go there. All right, stick with us.
Welcome to Smarty. This month, we're going to be making our own chore spin wheel. You'll notice while we make this fun activity, these icons are going to be popping up onto the screen. These correlate to specific skill sets that are in the Skills program. Skills is the ABA-based online tool that helps parents build their own teaching plan for children on the autism spectrum. If you are a Skills user, this will help you get the most out of this educational opportunity. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a large bowl to trace, cardstock, scissors, a pencil, a ruler, a hole puncher, a metal brad, and any other arts and crafts materials you want to use to decorate your pinwheel with. So step 1, you're going to take your large bowl and place it on top of the cardstock and trace the circle. Step 2, you guessed it, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the line. Step 3, you're going to fold the circle into quarters. This is the best way to make sure all the triangles within it are symmetrical. Once you folded the paper, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to trace those lines so you can actually see them on the circle. Now here comes the fun part. Take your arts and crafts materials and you're going to decorate the chore spin wheel. I used some crayons to color in every other quadrant so you could see them pop and see the difference between the different chores. Place the different adaptive skills your child is working on in the different quadrants. Once you're done decorating the circle and labeling the different chores in each quadrant, then you're going to take your scrap paper that you had left over and you're going to cut an arrow out of it. Once the arrow has been cut, you're going to take your hole puncher and hole punch on the very edge of it. This will be your spinner. Then you're going to take your arrow and your circle and line them up and take your brad and place it through and secure it. And voila, you have your finished chore spin wheel. Well, I enjoyed making this activity with you and I hope to see you soon. Until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here today with Joanne Lara. She's one of the co-authors of this new book, Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. It is a pivotal book for anybody who has a child who's on the autism spectrum, regardless of what their skill level is, regardless of what their abilities are right now. As Joanne says, each and every one of our children has a right to a job, and that we can start to get them ready. The jobs are going to look very different, but if we want them to be successful, we've got to start early. And this is really the keys to the kingdom. As we mentioned, it's full of exercises and things to do. And then there are worksheets in the back that when you have the book, you have the ability to be able to download them. And that's all for free. It's amazing. We do want to say that the foreword is by Temple Grandin. This book has been approved by Dr. Stephen Shore, by Dr. Doreen Grampuchet, and by myself. I like horrible to include myself in that company, but I will. I think it's brilliant. That's what I said. And Joanne has a book signing that is coming up. Let's talk a little bit about when the book signing is. We want to give a big kudos to We Rock the Spectrum. Their kids' gyms. We absolutely love them. Dina Kimmel, who does such a great job. But there's one particular kids' gym which has said that they will host the book signing. And that is the one that is in Glendale. Deborah Portnoy and her family own that one. I particularly love that one because and it's perfect for your event because that gym, while it has all the 10 essential equipment that all the gyms has, it also caters specifically to older kids, teens and adults that are on the autism spectrum as well. So you're having the book signing on September 7th. And it's from 7 to 9 p.m. with a little light fare served.
A little light supper.
A little bit of a tanoche. So that you can have your book signed. You can meet both Joanne and Susan. They'll be there and you can get your book signed. And again, we want to give a shout out to We Rock the Spectrum's kids gyms and specifically Deborah Portnoy and her Glendale gym. Make sure that you get yourself to this if you're in the Los Angeles area. I will be there. I will be there with my kiddo.
It's going to be fun. Looks like a lot of people have already...
Are we supposed to RSVP?
Yeah, you can go on Facebook. It's on Facebook as an event. On mine and Susan's and Deborah Portnoy's page, and I think on the We Rock the Spectrum page. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, it's fine to show up even. But it's good to get an idea of how many. I think she says that 40 to 50 can come.
Okay, so get yourself to their great book signing. We're going to take another break, and then we're going to be back to talk about the play that we saw this last weekend, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Stick with us.
This is Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, that one day, I can just, inspire people and never give up. Because, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here on this special edition of the show with our wonderful guest, Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now. She's got a new book out. We just love this. It just came out this week, Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. But we promised that we were going to talk about this weekend. You put together a group of people to go to an event right now here in Los Angeles, the national touring company of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is visiting at the Amundsen Theater, and we really want to encourage you, if you're in the Los Angeles area, to get to it.
It's fantastic.
Run, don't walk, get to it. And if you're not in the Los Angeles area, look to see when it's coming to your neighborhood, because
That's
it's
right.
playing in different places all over the country. And we were there with a large group of people
From Autism Works Now family.
and the autism community and autism community adjacent, let's say that. You know,
Yes,
people
that's
who
good. That's right. That's right.
people who all have a love for this community. And afterwards, you had arranged so wonderfully, thank you so much, for there to be a little bit of a talk back with our group
Yeah.
and with members of the cast.
Q&A, yeah.
And it was, I'm gonna cry. It was
so
really
good, wasn't it?
It was really amazing. We've been treated to go to a lot of things in our life with our son, and I feel so grateful, grateful for a lot of different reasons. Grateful because my son is a good theater goer. He's my kid, so he couldn't be anything else.
That's right.
I used to teach college theater, and I would teach the big 101 class, The Enjoyment of Theater, for all the sorority and
Right.
fraternity, and I it was serious
You
business
will
with
love
me.
theater.
Oh, I made sure that they did before they left, and they understood how to appreciate good theater and be a
Yes.
good audience member.
Yes.
So there was no way I was going to have a kid,
Right.
spectrum or not.
Right.
We take him to the theater, and I guess that's one of the things I want to start by saying is take your kids to the theater and don't wait.
He loved it.
Oh,
Well, they all did. All the kids
everybody
loved it.
did. And can I just say too that there were people of all abilities that were there.
That's right.
And all appreciated and love it. I wish that the whole theater community understood that people on the autism spectrum can go and be great audience members, and that it isn't a skill level ability. Everybody is capable of doing that within reason on
And I
certain
think-
days and certain things.
I think the beauty of that show is that for our kids is that they're singing their song.
Oh, in
And
a
they
big, big way.
really get it.
Yeah.
They really get it.
The word autism is never said in the show, is it?
No.
I don't recall it being said. And I had read the book years ago.
No, one time the
Is it?
teacher, I think the father and the administrator and the teacher talk about, because she's the teacher
remember
in a
that.
special day class
Yes.
in London.
But I don't recall the word autism being
Okay,
said.
maybe not.
I know when I read the book, there was a big controversy. Jem was in second grade when I read the book, and there was a big discussion about the fact that they didn't actually say in the book what the diagnosis was, but that everybody, it's clear that it's autism, and it's all told from the point of view of a teenager who is, for all intents and purposes, on the spectrum, but it's told in a really specific theatrical way. As I said, I read the book, and most of the book was inside this young man's head.
That's right.
And you
It's interior monologue.
exactly, and you get to spend. I mean, it's everybody I know reads it within a 24-hour period because you just can't put it down. It's a mystery. And from the inside of his head, there's a pretty graphic event that the book starts off with, and that the play starts off with, that a dog has been murdered.
Yes.
And he is on a mission that he is going to figure out who did this and how and what happens as a result of that. But it really takes him on a journey mentally and physically. But the way that they chose to tell this story, and we've talked about this before on the show, and we've been talking about it I just hadn't seen it.
Right.
And the set is a character in the show. The set is an amazing, and I believe it won the Tony Award for best set design,
And also the boy won for best actor.
and so deserved, because physically for this cast,
Amazing.
it is
amazing.
It's stunning. It's really, really stunning, and it's beautiful. I mean, there are parts of it where you feel like you're so caught up in it, you don't think about it till later, but it's a ballet. There are some things that I'm still
great
processing days later, that it's amazing. And we're hopeful. We've asked to do interviews, and we're hopeful that they'll have time while they're here in Los Angeles to do some interviews. Because
We saw Benjamin Wheelwright.
oh, can we talk about him for a minute?
Oh, and he was incredible.
The show is so physically demanding that it requires, nobody could do 8 performances a week, and so they have 2 different people. It's not an understudy situation at all, but they have 2 different people who play the role. I'm going to sneeze. I'm so emotional, I'm going to sneeze. But in any case, talk about Benjamin for a second, Joanne.
Well, so Benjamin is Canadian, number one, which I thought was very. We found all this out when we went for the Q&A after the show. We got to meet the cast, the mother, the teacher, the policeman who played all the policeman's roles,
ensemble roles,
and the star of the show, Christopher.
Yes.
And he's Canadian. He's young.
Yes.
24, I think.
Maybe.
Maybe. He said they'd put the show together in New York, I believe he said.
Yes.
So he had done quite a bit of his own research, because that was one of the questions from one of the families. How much research did you do, and what did that look like to play the character, because he's neurotypical. And it's, again, like you say, so physically demanding. I said to him, you must be a ballet dancer or a dancer. And he said, no, they actually didn't want that, because they didn't want that kind of stylized technique. But he's incredible. He continues to move. It's his show.
Yeah.
He has all the lines. He has all the information. But the ensemble work is so incredible, because it has to be perfect.
Well, and the trust
With the
level.
set.
Yes.
With the set.
And the trust level for the things that they do, they call it the lift team, because there are so many times when they are lifting.
They are moving him around on stage.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I know I don't want to spoil it for somebody going to it, but they're able to take the things that are happening in his brain and project it out onto the screen, and have him be able to move through this other character that's the screen by lifting him and carrying him and swirling him. It's not like nothing you've ever seen before.
My favorite scene is the mother at the beach, where they do time and place. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the boy is at downstage, I think, right, and the mother is center upstage.
Yeah.
And they're having a conversation in the past.
Yes.
It's a brilliant scene.
It really is amazing. The direction of it is really incredible. It's great storytelling, and it just so happens that the story is one that, as you said, they're singing our kids' song. And there is a way that you connect with it that you might not have before. And I had said to Jem beforehand, now, I didn't want to spoil anything, but I like to prepare him, you know?
Right.
And I say, okay, so this is, what the basic story is, and there's going to be this thing at the beginning. And of course, you walk in, and the dog is on the stage with the pitchfork through it, but that's good, because it gave us all time to accept that, and it wasn't a shocking thing, and then it's gone from the start. It's gone, but everybody came in and it was like, oh, and outside of the play you got to accept that and deal with it. And I had said I always say to Jem, now this is a story about somebody who has autism, but I always say to him, but it's not your kind of autism. I always do,
You do?
regardless, because that allows him to sit and take in whatever it is. And then afterwards, sometimes he'll say to me, yeah, that is a little bit my kind of autism, Mom. And I get to hear it that way. Yeah. And what was fascinating to me was when we were doing the discussion afterwards, and one of the questions that Ben asked of our kids, he said, did you feel like what we were showing on the screen and all of that, did you feel like it was that it rang true to you of your experience?
Right.
And my kid was like, yes, absolutely, yes. He did. And I found that interesting, because as a parent, all I've ever said is, if I could just crawl in through his ear and take a tour of his brain and see what he sees, what wouldn't I give, Joanne? What wouldn't I give? And the little moments in time, now that he is verbal enough, where he will, say something and I get a glimpse
Yes.
of what he sees,
Right.
those are the most valuable moments in my life. So to see him going, yes, and we've had a couple of conversations since then. He's very private about those kinds of things and doesn't, although he knows it really jazzes me. So we've had a little bit of conversation about it, but he loved it.
He did love
He
it. I
just
know.
loved it.
I think all the kids did.
And I will say this too, I called Nancy afterwards because the physicality that Ben brought to it, not the character and what the character can and can't do, but the physicality that he brought to it, to me, was very much Nancy's son Wyatt.
Yeah,
And
you
it-
said that.
And it broke my heart in 68 different ways during the show, because you just want so badly to hug this character. And one of the
But he
things,
can't be touched.
and this is one of the things for this young man, is that he's touch, and that becomes a very big deal with the parents about, we see time and time again that the parents want to touch, but there are ground rules.
That's right.
And it must be observed with this young man. But I felt it. I wanted to get up. And I, I've seen a fair amount of theater in my life. That's what my master's degree is in, and I worked in Broadway theater. I will tell you, I think this is fine, beautiful, rich, fantastic, not to be missed theater.
That's right. For
This
me, it was.
really, really good. And there have been a few times in my life where I've been in an audience where, we talk about the willing suspension of disbelief, that you forget that you're in a theater. Big high ceiling with all these people, you forget that you're there, right? And there just have been I can count on one hand the number of times I've been there where the audience starts shouting at the stage because they are so in the moment that they lose track of where they are.
Yeah.
And that happened on Sunday's
I know
performance.
it did.
People started yelling, and what you have to do on stage to get people to that point,
It's amazing.
it is amazing. And of course they got a standing ovation, and I'm sure they do every single performance. It was certainly deserved. It wasn't like anybody had to think about it. Everybody immediately
Stood up.
It's a treat. Can we say that? It's a treat for your soul and your senses.
And it's the second time I saw it. So
Yeah. Because you saw it in London,
I
right?
saw it in London, and then in 2016. I appreciated some things this time again around that I wanted to say. One, at the very beginning, they set up that he has projects.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's like every one of our kids. They are so project oriented. And I have an older individual who's in our Autism Works Now program.
Yeah.
He's in his late 40s. And his life is about projects. And he comes and he speaks about the projects in the sessions on Thursdays. Well, this is the project he's doing now, and this is the project he's doing, he intends to do. I'm going to do next week. And I love that.
Yeah.
It really, it's something that, it's a real thread
Yes.
with all of our kids, that project piece. And then the whole touch piece was bigger for me this time. And I did the show Touch with
Yes,
Kiefer Sutherland, and
yes.
his that character of that young boy was also couldn't be touched. But it's about the parietal lobe. It brings in the lobes and why can't our kids be touched? It's that parietal lobe in the brain that interprets touch
Yeah.
on a much more magnified level.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate the writing of the book again, because this book was written in probably 2000, maybe 99. It was published in 2003, I believe,
Yeah.
or two. So it's way before we were really isolating the lobes of the brain and what part they played in autism. And I went back in my mind and I thought, wow, it's quite brilliant
It
the
is.
way that he wrote it,
Yeah.
because he never said there's a part of my brain that doesn't allow me to be touched. And that touch was a through line, again, a through line for the play.
Yeah. It's just amazing. I really, if you get an opportunity to see it,
You should.
You really
Absolutely.
need to. I can't say that enough. You really need
And
to go
take your
see it.
children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't leave them at home. Take them.
Absolutely. So check it out. Right now it's playing at the Amundsen Theater, and it's
Till
playing into the, is it the
September
9th?
10th.
Okay, the
I
10th of
think the
September.
9th or 10th.
And then they will be moving. They're continuing to go places, and there is a production that's getting ready to be done in Ohio
You
and
said
in
that, yeah.
Syracuse. That for the first time, a person who's on the autism spectrum will be playing the role of Christopher. We've asked to have
Love that.
Mickey, the actor, be on the show, and we're waiting to hear back
I love that.
if we can do that before he needs to leave for rehearsals. So in any case, let's take a short break, and then we need to come back and talk about the event that you have coming up, the Larry King event. And then we mentioned it before, but I want to mention again that you've got classes starting up on October 5th. So
Yes.
stick with us. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here today with our very special guest, Joanne Lara, and she is talking to us about a lot of different things. But first of all, her new book, co-authored with Susan Osborne, came out just this week. It is Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. It's available on Amazon, and if you need to buy it on Amazon, that's fine. But we'd rather that you get it by going to Joanne's websites. Joanne, tell them really quickly what your website.
AutismWorksNow.org or autismmovementtherapy.org.
Okay, now this all stems from the work of Autism Works Now, as in not in tomorrow. Autism Works Now. But let's be honest, if we're trying to train kids in a really specific way, it all takes money. There are a lot of things that have to be done, and it takes the support of the community as well.
Right.
But Joanne's got an event that's coming up that pulls the community together to celebrate Autism Works Now and to celebrate a couple of very important people who have, said that this is important to them as well. And it will also raise funds to be able to be used by Autism Works Now to make this happen for more people. So tell us a little bit about this fabulous event and who we're honoring.
Good. And also it's even a broader dream because it's called AMT Dream Gala, and Dream Alliance is our new residential with options for employment.
Fabulous.
And that's really what we're raising the money for. We're honoring Larry King, who has been a huge supporter of autism movement therapy and Autism Works Now for the past 2 years. We've raised a tremendous amount of money with Larry, and he's been a true humanitarian. We're giving him the Humanitarian Award. We're also honoring Dr. Temple Grandin. We're giving her a Trailblazer Award. And Joe Mantegna will be presenting the award to Larry. Larry asked for Joe, and we love Joe. He's also a huge pillar in our community.
Absolutely.
Nothing but respect and love for Joe. We also, we have our fingers crossed because we've asked Al Gore to present the Temple Grandin Award to Temple. So we are we're waiting to hear back from him.
It's a star-studded night.
It's going to be a huge evening. It's at the Montage Hotel in Beverly Hills. We're starting with cocktails at 6, and we have a silent auction. We have a live auction. Kiki Epson Trio is performing, and we can't say, but we're working on some other A-list performers for singing.
Yes.
And it's going to be an amazing event. It's a dinner.
Amazing. And so the event is happening on Saturday, November 11th. And it starts at 5:30. We want to encourage people, if this is an event that you would like to go to, where do they need to go to be able to purchase a ticket?
They can go to, again, our websites, autismmovementtherapy.org, autismworksnow.org, or they can call the Proper Image Events. And that's Cher Lilico. She's my event planner.
And I think I've got the number here. Can I give it out?
Yes, please do.
818-994-4661. Again, that's 818-994-4661. Or you can email info@theproperimagevents.com.
That's right.
Or check out www.autismworksnow.org. And don't forget, this happens on November 11th. We're going to talk more about it as it comes up.
Right.
And then Autism Live will be there covering it, hopefully live on the red carpet. So that, those of you who can't go will get a glimpse at seeing. But people always used to be that we wouldn't talk about these kinds of events because it's it's a little pricier event. Let's not mince words here. Yeah. This isn't in everybody's price range to be able to do because it's a fundraiser, and that's what it's meant for. Because the dream is huge.
The dream is huge because what we want to do is have a 6 residential for 6 individuals, along with a greenhouse that becomes flowers.
Yes.
So and specifically roses, so that we can employ and use that employment piece within the structure of the Dream Alliance. Yeah. Also, we want to breed therapy dogs.
There you go.
So
the dream is huge, which means it takes a great deal of money. And like I said, it used to be that we wouldn't talk to you about these events, but then, some great moms wrote in and said, hey, don't leave us out. We want to know about it because we want to be able to dream for the day that we have the funds to be able to go and support this the way that we can. And this year you might have it, and so I want you to know.
We have single tickets and group tables.
There you go. Maybe you could
and
go to
sponsorships
to your company and say, do you want to sponsor a table? So anyway, that's coming up on November 11th, but on October 5th, your classes are starting again.
That's right.
And so if somebody is here in Los Angeles area and has a young adult that you're having issues with getting jobs and you want to be a part of this and have the classroom, you can do that. Go to autismworksnow.org. And I also wanted to say, somebody wrote in and said, I encouraged my son to get a job over the summer, which is what he did. He currently has a student bank account and just passed his learner's permit to drive. I hope this time next year he will be driving himself to work.
Wow.
This is the mentality,
great story.
Right?
Great success story. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So in any case, just to recap, because we've only got about a minute left here, teaching pre-employment skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. Remember that you don't have to, if your child is 22, this is a great book. You're going to have lots of things to do. So don't hold yourself to the 14, 17-year-old. And I would say if you've got a 10-year-old, get the book and know where you're headed, right?
Absolutely.
Because there are things you can start on now. So make sure that you get that. www.autismworksnow.org is the best place to order it from. But you can get it on Amazon as well. We don't have anything against Amazon. It's just more money goes to the things that you want it to go to if you get it on their website. Yeah. And if you are in the area, classes start on October 5th.
Yes.
For the next class. This is
for
the
Thursday class, but we have a Saturday class in Culver City.
Oh, that's right.
And that starts on Saturday the 7th of October. Okay. It's a 1:30 to 3 class.
All right.
So we have 2 locations now in Los Angeles.
And there you go. Yeah. Joanne, thank you for all the work that you do and all that you mean for our community. And thank you for fighting the good fight always.
Thank you for having me on the show.
We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, it's going to be time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Wait till you see the guests that we're going to have on today's show. We have Milena Ramasa from Conveyed Car Seats is going to be joining us again with a designer of a new product called the Scallop. And we are going to be telling you about how you have the potential to win a scallop. That's going to be coming up, plus which we've got in the news and a bunch of things for Nancy and I to catch up with you about. So all of that's coming up after this. Stick with us.
Jack Riley starts his day with Jessica and AB therapy at 8 a.m. Each session he has lasts around 2 hours, with a total amount of therapy of 40 hours per week. This includes occupational therapy, speech therapy, and ABA therapy.
What do you want to play with today?
Train.
That's what I thought. Yay, there you go. There's trains and tracks. Nice.
So what's an average of programs you try to get done in a session with a kid?
I try to incorporate a lot of things as much as I can. Like, for instance, if he was playing with trains, I'd incorporate functional pretend play. So that's just basically teaching him how to play with the toy appropriately, the way it's supposed to be played, building a track and having him move, and using vocalizations. Choo-choo, let's go, all aboard, things like that.
Choo-choo.
All right, say all aboard.
All aboard.
All right. As he's so little, we're building a lot of language. It's language, 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 all the time. So we work on banding, so having him request for things for me.
Let's play. Let's race. Let's track.
We can also work on tacting, which is having him label, like the colors, the names of the trains.
That's the twist. It's Thomas.
It's Thomas. Also, we can work on getting attention. I would withhold the preferred trains or tracks and have him tap my shoulder to get more pieces.
He wants to go.
Hi, what do you want?
Let's play.
You want trains. We can also work on compliance, like come here and give it to me. Wait. Come here. Yeah! That's such good listening. Good job, mister. So there's a lot of things I can kind of incorporate, at the same time in one sitting. And as far as his behaviors, I haven't really seen anything. Hey, sit up. Well, just now. Yeah, with his visual stereotypy, his is just looking at things from a different angle or sideways or upside down. But he rarely engages in that except just now.
What?
Pickers.
Huh?
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
What are you doing?
We doing.
I'm filming you.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, bye.
Who is that?
Jack.
Jack? Jack who?
Jack Riley.
Where's your nose? Where's your ears? Where's your eyes?
Look your eyes up.
Where's your chin? Ooh.
Where's your teeth? Is that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your head? Where's your tummy? Okay, I'm gonna need you now. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a hat? Clothes. Oh my goodness, you're so smart.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on categories.
Give me vehicle. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Give me a vehicle. Nice. What's a fire truck?
Fire truck.
What is that?
Vehicle.
It's a vehicle. Cool. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a dress?
Clothes.
Clothes. Nice. Here you go. Here's your sticker. Give me furniture. Nice job. What's a table?
Furniture.
Furniture. Perfect. Give me clothes. Good job. What's a jacket? What's a jacket? No, what's a jacket? No. Hey, hey. What's a jacket? No, what's a jacket? It's What is it?
It's clothes.
It's clothes. So what's a jacket?
Clothes.
Clothes. Good job. Here, put Tigger on. Yeah, you're all done. You want your trains or bed?
Trains.
Okay, go play with your train.
Okay, Papa. See you later.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hi, Shannon.
Said that in a different octave than I'm used to hearing. We both, just so you guys know, just as we were coming back, Nancy just came in and Joanne left and Nancy just came in, and both Nancy and I were so stressed and like trying to figure out how to log into your school program and get them
every
like
password and
just it's the beginning of school and it's not.
I feel like it's the beginning of school for me. I feel like it was my first day of school today.
And I gotta say that it wasn't the first day of school for us today. We're already 2.5 weeks in, but we're still in the phase of like we're not in the automated phase yet. Like personally, I'm not, and the school's not, and the teachers aren't. We're almost there, but we're not quite there. And man, it's stressful.
It takes a while. It is very stressful.
And just the different traffic patterns.
Yeah.
And we are leaving. We're having to drive really far to get Jem to the school that he's going to, and we're leaving really early.
What time do you have to wake up?
I'm waking up at 6, but I'm seeing that I need to get up at 5:30.
Right.
How
about him?
And so he's getting up. I was getting him up at 6:45, and now he has to get up at 6:30.
Yeah.
So it's not and the lunchbox thing seems like it changes every year a little bit, what he'll eat and how he'll do it.
Right.
I just don't have it together yet.
I know. Well, I started getting ready last night for Wyatt's first day today, and I just still feel like it's not together.
Well, and I kept thinking first day would come and then you kind of get over it. I'm not over it yet. We're 2.5 weeks in and I'm not over it yet.
Yeah,
but
I think it takes a while.
It just is what
Maybe
it
a
is.
month.
And I just want to, we talk about this all the time on Thursdays about, being in the moment and being mindful and meditation and stuff. And oh man, it's a good thing we've been talking about that on Thursday, you guys, because I've been having to use that on a minute by minute basis in the mornings for the last 2.5 weeks.
Right.
Because I am so stressed. I said to my niece on the phone today, I said, I have to do something to stop this because I'm just a heart attack waiting to happen.
I know.
I'm in the heart attack years. It can't be this stressed.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling at this woman this morning who pulled, and so I couldn't get in, and I was, I got my hand up and I'm yelling, and I had to take a step back and go, you're trying to get your child to school, not to brain surgery.
Right.
like let's all take a moment.
Try to be present. Try to be in the moment here. Okay.
It gets ugly. Anyway, we're thrilled to be here with you guys.
Yeah.
Did you know, Nancy, that today, for the first time, we are not only live on our own page, and we are live on Facebook Live, and we're live on YouTube, but we're also live right now on Twitter.
Oh.
And we are live on Periscope.
I didn't know you could do all that.
Well, Samantha knows.
Way
And
to
so
go,
Samantha
Samantha.
did it. And yes, so we're welcoming our viewers on Twitter. If you guys want to write in, you absolutely can. We love hearing your comments. This whole show is meant to be interactive.
Right.
And welcome. We're just a couple of crazy autism moms with you today with big guests.
Yeah.
We've got two fabulous guests that are going to be with us. We've got Milena Ramasa, but yes, Milena, I was going to say, I thought she changed her name, but that's neither here nor there. It's
Okay.
Milena Ramasa.
Okay.
And she's going to be here from Convade. We had
Right.
her on the show back in December. They make incredible car seats, and they donated a car seat for somebody who
For
needed a
Act
grant
Today.
from Act Today.
Yes.
They are angels walking on this earth.
They really
we
are.
love Convade. And they've got a new product that's out that's not a car seat.
It's called the Scallop.
And I love it.
Good name for it, 'cause that's what it looks like.
It's the cutest thing, and we're going to show you why it might be something that you might need for your little one. And we're going to have Kara Gwynn is going to be joining us via Skype a little bit later on. She's 24 years old, and she studies project design. And in her final year, this was her project, and I can't wait
brilliant.
to talk to her about this and what it's going to do for kids who have different needs, especially for those of you who have a tough time having your little one sit for circle time,
Right.
which is such a big deal in preschool and in kindergarten and in those first early classes, because a lot of learning happens in
Right.
circle time,
Right.
and a lot of the social stuff happens in circle time. But if our kids can't sit for it, forget it.
Right.
It's just
And
not
I know
going to happen.
my kid couldn't sit for it.
So this scallop is. I've
We're
told you the
talking-
stories about Jem and how Jem couldn't sit in circle
Right.
time and would bite and claw and try
Right.
to get out, and then they put him in the 5-point harness
Right.
with a vest. This was not card, by the way. This
Right.
was the first early intervention, and they put him in a vest and they put a weighted blanket. Oh my
Right,
gosh! If
right.
I'd had a scallop.
Right.
Okay. So and we're going to
So
have an
we-
opportunity for somebody to win a scallop.
Yes, for one of our viewers.
So we're going to be giving you information about that in just a few minutes. You're going to want to stick with us for that. But first, we want to talk about some in the news.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about how our gut microbes
Gut
talk
microbes.
to our brain?
Our microbes may talk to the brain through cortisol. So we've been hearing a lot about gut microbes and our microbial makeup and how they can influence behavior and possibly autism. So now they've discovered that, and I hope I get all these terms right, changes in neurometabolites during infancy can have a profound effect on brain development. And it's possible that microbiomes, the collection of bacteria, fungi, and viruses inhabiting our gut, plays a role in this process.
Yes. And if this sounds like, well, that's old news, because we've been talking about this forever, that your gut and your brain are connected. I love how years ago, when people would bring this up and people go, that's just crazy. And what you eat has nothing to do with what or how you think. And, and all you have to do is say to somebody, okay, then drink a beer.
Right.
And then let's talk
Yeah.
about, is your brain functioning and seeing things in the
Right.
same way? Come on. So the autism community has pretty much been on this page for a long time, but more and more research is getting it done showing why.
And they've done this
how.
studying month-old piglets.
Yes,
which are
that part bums me out.
Well,
but
they're very similar to human infants in terms of their gut and brain development.
And the reason why they're using the piglets is because they need to be able to look very closely in the intestines and see what's happening, and then look at the brains and see what's happening. And you really can't do that with babies.
Right.
Ethically, there is no way you can't do it. It bums me out that we have to do it with the piglets, because I'm all about, kindness to
Right,
animals.
right.
But if it's something, I have to say that if it's something that makes a huge difference in the autism community, then I have to support it. And one of the things that I found interesting about this study, and by the way, you can find this in medicalexpress.com, and also, how I got introduced to this study was
How?
that they're featuring it on Taka's Facebook page right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Because Taka and Lisa Ackerman was going, okay, here's just another way that we
Right.
see this. But we hear all the time about cortisol.
Yes.
And when we have stress,
How our cortisol levels rise.
and that it can cause long-term damage to other internal organs and things. And so now the fact that they're being able to look at the biome that's in our, that's the new word, right? And looking at how cortisol attaches to that. What I thought was interesting, the two words that came up was that they found bacteroids and Clostridium. And if you have heard that term here before, I want to remind you that you have an opportunity. You can go and look at the study that CARD is doing. We had two scientists who were here from England on the show. We did a special edition, just put in poop study on our website and watch what they say about Clostridium. This CARD has a huge study that's going on right now. I call it the poop study. They call it the metabolite study, which is a much prettier way of saying it, but they're looking at hundreds of poop samples from CARD kids and people outside of CARD. But they needed 3 different sets of samples. Kids who are on the spectrum, their poop, kids who are their siblings, but aren't on the spectrum, and then kids who are not their siblings who are neurotypical. And they're comparing all of them, and they've already, even in the preliminary study, been able to isolate, and all part of what's different in the poop samples is this Clostridium. So this is a linchpin. This is coming up all over the place, and there's going to be more studies about this. But this is really exciting, and I encourage you. I don't think they're taking poop right now, but if they check out our clip, it's a lengthy one where they talk about what it is that they're trying to find out. They're really phenotyping autism, and they're seeing that Clostridium has a huge effect in what's happening in your gut. So interesting.
Another story on the science side. People with autism spectrum disorder show neural responses of anxiety on seeing social touch. So even when they see social touch, they report unpleasant feelings by comparison to people with weak signs of autism spectrum disorder.
And I found this particularly interesting in light of, and this is in Science News, you guys can check this out right now in Science News. I found it really interesting, especially looking at all of the things that have been out in the last week about The Good Doctor and Atypical. And people saying it's very interesting that people who are not on the spectrum really loved it, and a couple of people who are on the spectrum really had a hard time with it. And I'm wondering if it comes down to this, because there are a lot of things, especially in Atypical, that were about touching and being touched. And you have people who are not on the spectrum who are touching, and then you have somebody who's on the spectrum trying to be touched by somebody who isn't, and it doesn't go well, and everyone was uncomfortable. But I know in talking with an adult that teaches at UCLA that I respect, who's on the spectrum, and he said, man, I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. And maybe that's part of why they didn't enjoy it as much as we did, right?
Proposition.
I mean, and then it brings up all these other things for us about when we're making things that are entertaining for people who are on the autism spectrum, maybe we need to take that into consideration, and then you really have to think who your audience is. So, but fascinating, and that's from University of Haifa. If you want to read more about that,
published in the journal Autism Research.
And it's just out yesterday, day before yesterday. In any case, I wanted to take a second there's a lot in the news this week and has been in the last week about SPARC.
SPARC, which is a study.
Yes, that's being done by the Simons Group. And we actually had one of their lead investigators on the show before, and of course I cannot think what her last name is, but Dr. Wendy, I'll find it somewhere on here. She's been on our show before, and we've asked again for somebody to come on and talk specifically with us about SPARC, but they are partnering with a bunch of different facilities all over the country. And this is a swab that you can do, and it's free for you to participate in, and you can, if you decide that you don't want to participate in it later on, you can opt out of it. But they're really encouraging autism families. They're saying you can, at any age, they want to get swabs on a huge segment of our population.
And there are reasons why you should participate in this. Joining it will provide participants with access to experts through webinars and other online channels, so they can hear about the latest research in autism, so that's a very good one. It'll provide support to participants by presenting tips and information about autism and how to approach challenges in a new and helpful way. Give you access to the latest research updates that will arm you with information that could address daily challenges. And then in appreciation of participation in Spark, the individual will get a $50 gift card once you've returned the samples.
There you go. And again, as I started to say before, this is I said the Simons Foundation, but it's the Simons Foundation Autism Research Initiative. I want to make sure that I say that, the whole thing. And it's called Spark, and it is considered the largest study ever having to do with autism. I think it's a really worthwhile thing to do. If you want to participate, all you have to do is Google Spark Autism, and there is a tremendous website that will give you all the information about it, about how you do the swab, why it's a swab, what the whole thing is. But I can't encourage you enough to participate. We all need to participate. And hopefully we'll have somebody from the Simons Foundation on the show soon to talk more about it.
Okay.
And then we always like to end on some good news.
Good story, yes.
I love this. More and more we're seeing these kinds of stories where somebody who's on the autism spectrum feels a little bit sidelined, on the sidelines. And there's been a big push in the last couple of days on Facebook for people to remind, everybody to put on their Facebook, I was going to do it yesterday, I didn't get around to it, that as school starts, to remind all of our neurotypical friends to tell their kids to be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
And I have to say, even, Jem, we were having a conversation yesterday because I was so worried as he started school. It's a new school. He doesn't know anybody. Nobody knows anybody. I know that, to be bully proof, you got to have a pack.
Right. And
so I was like, here's how you're going to get your pack. And it's funny, when we were at the theater on Sunday, Spencer Hart was there and was talking about starting school, and Jen was like, now look, this is how you got to find your friends. And I loved that he was sharing that. But he has his pack.
Right.
We're at the beginning of school, he has his pack, people that he sits with, and I ask him every day, who'd you have nutrition with? Who did you have lunch with? He's like, the guys. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't done the flip and said, have you scanned to see if anybody is sitting alone?
Right.
That we all need to be teaching our kids this. So we're seeing more and more stories where a community rallies around a kid and says, we're going to make this different for you.
And there's, in this particular case, a young Florida teenager. He would have been celebrating his 13th birthday alone, but his community showed up to support him.
Yeah.
He had been the victim of the bullying.
Yeah. And last year, his birthday had been really horrible, but the entire community showed up. They did, there was an organization called Crowd Fun It, which is volunteers. We want to give them a shout out because they put the celebration together so that the entire community, they had members of the military, a motorcycle brigade, an army of Star Wars stormtroopers,
Chewbacca,
Ghostbusters, really amazing. We want to congratulate the community on getting that done and making this young man feel special and included, because everybody needs to feel that at some point. And, if anybody's like, well, my kid doesn't, well then, if you feel like you've been left out, put out the cry and put the shout out in the dark. People are listening. We really love it. Really appreciate that. And we want to say happy birthday to him. All right, let's take a break. And then I think that we're going to be able to bring our guests in. We're going to talk about this new Convade scallop.
The scallop.
Milena Ramisa. I had it before, and now I'm going to mess it all up.
Okay.
But we'll get her to pronounce it.
Ramasa.
And she's from Convade. What an amazing company.
I know, and we're indebted to them for helping Act Today with the brand.
And for making the seats that make it safe for our kids to travel through their life, and truly an amazing company and a new product that's really going to make a difference. Can't wait to talk about that. Stick with us.
Back.
Hi, I'm Kara Kaczynski, the Pocket Occupational Therapist, and we're here in Dallas, Texas at the Future Horizons Autism Super Conference. So the book is the Special Needs School Survival Guide, and it's everything you wanted to know about school. It is, so it starts out with just different diagnoses that you might see, and then I explain them in clear terms, no technical jargon. And then each little diagnosis area has about, 50 to 100 activities that you can do at home or at school or cheaply and effectively. So it's just full of information that you can use right now. And the cool thing about it is at the end of every chapter are resources that you can use and access in the internet from a computer. And it's not just for kids with any diagnoses either. It's for kids that are just having trouble with handwriting or with dressing in school or transitions too. Well, both of my kids are on the autism spectrum, so it's important to me that when I learn something for other people, as I research it for occupational therapy, I want to try it at home. So then I take what works and I put it in a book, and what doesn't work, it's thrown out the window. And the other thing is I've just started to research for webinars, because our kids, if our kids are aging, so they start out these cute little babies with autism, and now they're getting to be teenagers and young adults, and we need help with modifying the environment for them, transition planning, and especially for IEP goal writing, for functional things that they can work on, not just handwriting, but then going beyond into the transition to young adulthood. Yeah, the misnomer at this point in the school systems is that we just do handwriting. So we are actually not handwriting teachers. We can modify or help rectify a grip that's inefficient. So if a child doesn't have that nice, pretty little tripod grasp, we can help to get that. However, when the kid's in 2nd or 3rd grade, then we look at efficiency. So if the grasp is efficient, if it's a quadrupod grasp, or if it's some kind of funky grasp, and the child can write efficiently, then we leave it alone. But if not, then we go to electronic accommodations. So OTs then can look at keyboarding and what kinds of keyboards would fit the student best. Also sensory processing, as the kids get older, it looks different. So we can look at sensory processing as it relates to function in the school. And then we also can look at behavior and transition planning. Other things we can do is work on seating. So if the child's having trouble sitting still in the classroom, we can modify that too. So not just handwriting, not just sensory, but we look at behavior, transitions, so anything that affects that student's school day. Right, so that's a really good question, because sensory processing disorder did not make it into the last DSM, which is the way that medical professionals classify disorders. So it did make it into the classification under autism, but sensory processing disorder is very confusing, and a lot of therapists treat it differently. So the general overview is that sensory processing is either a heightened response to stimuli in the environment or a too low, which is hypo, response. So if the student perceives every noise around them is equally as important, or every feeling, so I'm sitting here, I can feel the chair, my sweater, the noise around me, then it's hard to concentrate and focus in the classroom on what you're supposed to be paying attention to. So we would use something, maybe a suggestion could be a weighted lap pad or some kind of fidget tool for the student to fidget with, or we can even look at special positioning in the classroom, so preferred seating. Then, with sensory, transitions can be hard because any unexpected bump in the classroom or in line can set the child off into a fight or flight, which is when they really have a tantrum and freak out. So when they're in a fight or flight mode, they may fly off the handle for no apparent reason, maybe just being bumped by another student. So it's our job to be detectives and to figure out why the student is having that meltdown. So my CDs were created for my own kids my son in kindergarten didn't like the fire drills. So he was afraid to even step foot into the classroom because the fire alarm may sound. Of course, the school's not going to say, oh, let's just set off the fire alarm for your son, Bob. So we thought, where can we get a fire alarm? So we went into a recording studio and picked a whole plethora of sounds that you couldn't control, fireworks, thunder, sirens, and we put them on a CD, and I wrote nursery rhymes, changing the words to blender, blender, it's okay, or different little Mary Had a Little Lamb is something to do with thunder. So they're kind of fun, and that way the student can control the volume of the sound. It's not a listening therapy, there's no headphones involved. It's just a fun way to control sounds that you normally couldn't control. So they're for sale at my website, thepocketot.com.
What is autism?
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 I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to, just,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
a lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
And we are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and now we are joined in the studio by Melina Ramasa. Hello, Melina.
Did we get it right?
You got it right.
Is that right?
Awesome.
Okay. And you're the Marketing Communications Manager for Convade R82.
Correct.
And you had digital content strategy and production, media relations, community outreach, and the company's planned giving program. So,
Which means you're in charge of fabulous. Let's just say that.
Let's face it.
I have the best job in the world. I get to make people happy. I get to empower mobility by matching communities with product, and it's a really awesome job.
And you do an amazing job. Let's say that. You're an amazing person, and we got to know you last December when there was I'm going to get emotional because it was like such a big story.
A family.
A mom wrote in a letter and said, and for anybody who's a mom who's ever needed something for your child that you couldn't make happen on your own and you have to reach out to somebody else, she wrote to Act Today and said to you, Nancy, I need this car seat for my child.
Because her child was endangered. I mean, she couldn't literally go anywhere.
And when we called you, you said, stop. Like, I remember reading the letter from the mom to you, and you were like, just
had me
stop.
in tears. I couldn't listen
We were
anymore.
all in tears, and you said, stop, we're giving you the car seat.
Right.
And we weren't, can I just be honest, we weren't even asking for the car seat. We were asking for a discount or help towards it, and you said, nope, we're giving you the car seat. And it was amazing. And then you guys did that and more, and that mom has said over and over and over again that you opened up her life and made it possible for her and her family to go places. And that was you, that was Convade, and now I understand that there's this other component to it that I didn't even know then. The what's the number?
R82.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, at the end of 2015, ETAC acquired Convade, and the melding between Convade and R82 is such a natural fit. We're both in pediatric mobility, but R82 has a product that's for seating, for walking, gait trainers, hygiene, daily living. It's a phenomenal product line, and it was totally complementary to the pediatric wheelchairs that Convade manufactures. So, we have kind of a big ambition. We're really wanting to own the pediatric space in North America, and just grow naturally by doing what we do, basically reaching out to the community like we have to you, and getting as many community members aware of our product and framing it so the families living in the spectrum understand what products we have and how they can enhance living on a daily basis through use of the Convade and the R82 products.
Well, let's talk about where people can find more information. Where can we send them to so that they can find out more?
Right now we have 2 websites. One is www.convade.com, and the other one is R82, www.r82.com.
r82.com.
Okay, and I do want to mention that the car seat that you gave that mom was called the Carrot. If you guys have an individual who's got special needs and requires a little bit more of a car seat, and they're growing and you're growing out of their car seats, you've got to check out the Carrot because it's amazing. But check out the full line of things that you guys have, which leads
Now,
me to this
the new
fabulous
product.
thing that I'm
Right.
holding here in my hands. We promised them that we were going to talk a little bit about the scallop.
Yes.
And that's what this is. So do you want to talk a little bit about this? Because I think it's just as cute as it can be. But for people who haven't seen it before, talk about what you
it
do.
does.
Or do we want to wait and do that with Kara?
You know, Kara can give you the product details. She is a young woman from Wales who invented, who was the creator of this amazing thing. It's such a simple solution that meets so many needs. It's portable. I mean, I have another one that is a little bit larger. It folds into a tote. So what you see here is a tote bag. So basically, if you're going to the beach or to the park or anything, you can put all of your stuff in here, right?
And
then
do it
walk
too
around
with
like
mine.
this, and then when you want to sit down, you just open it up. It velcros together and has a little bit of padding. It comes in multiple colors. The colors are reversible. And it gives just that little nudge of support to those who need a little support, or to the typical population.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you don't have to be atypical to be able to.
No,
to
not at
work
all.
with
Not at all.
this.
You can see in Europe, it's been around in Europe for a little bit longer than it has here in North America. You can see like families of people going to, let's say, concerts in the park, and you know, like the bigger scallops are for the parents, and the smaller scallops are for the kids. It's a really cool product.
But when we were talking about this before, that any of you have little ones that have a hard time sitting in circle time,
which who doesn't?
Right. You know, I think all kids, when they first start out going to preschool and things,
Right.
circle time is a really difficult time to be in. And there are lots of different applications for this scallop, but I want to say, first of all, for our community, if your kiddo can't sit in circle time and do that and feel like they are safe, they will find other things to do. They will start touching the person next to them. They will crawl
Start
away.
running
In
around the
my
room.
case, my son would bite to
Yeah.
get out of the room and do all these different things. This is a non-stigmatizing, really fun, really cool, padded, comfortable way for a kiddo to be able to sit up properly, engage, you know, so that we're working towards that core strength, and be able to be free to take in other information.
Right.
And that's really what we're talking about. Is this is an amazing tool. So it's called a scallop. We're going to take a break in just a second, and
We
we're going
wanna
to be
bring back the
joined
designer.
the designer of this amazing product, because it's so cool the way this goes together. It's so much fun. It reminds me of a toy that I gave to my nieces once that was called a Snap-a-Zoo, and you could put it together and make different animals. It's clever, you guys. So we're going to be talking with Kira Gwynn. And I also want to say, though, that you guys have been so generous that they've given us the ability to give away a scallop from Autism Live. But what that's going to entail is that you need to email us. And you want to email us at info@autism. No, I got it wrong. What is it, Samantha? She's going to tell you.
autismlive@gmail.
That's what it is. We're going back and forth between the two of them. So autismlive@gmail.com. That's the one that you want to go to. Say, I want a scallop. You need to give us your mailing address so that it can be mailed to you. And you've got 1 week from today.
And what about sizing?
Oh, well, let's talk a little bit about
Sure.
that. Should they say which size they would need?
You know what? They don't have to specify that now. It comes in 4 sizes, and basically it works for kids from 33 pounds up to 154 pounds. So it's a wide range.
That is a huge range.
So you'll email us autismlive@gmail.com, and you'll say, I want the scallop, and then you have to give us your mailing address, and we're going to pick one person to be able to get the scallop, and then we're going to pick at random, so it won't matter, you know, what else you say, although you can write us a beautiful letter if you want to, but we're going to pick at random, and then you've also given us some growth charts to give away. So if you don't win the scallop, you might win this fabulous growth chart.
You still get a scallop. In fact, you get more scallops. You get 6 scallops if
There
you
go. but not ones you can sit in.
No, but ones you can
but it's super cool and really well made and lovely. So we've got those, but you've got to write in. You've only got a week, because a week from today we will pick at random.
And the address again is?
autismlive@gmail.com. It's on the screen for you right now. autismlive@gmail.com. So fabulous. But we're going to take a short break and come back with the designer
And Kira
of these
Gwynn.
fabulous scallops. Stick with us.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple of group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch, because they were all focused, they were all present, they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
And we are back now. We've been joined in the studio by Melina Ramasa, who's the Marketing Communications Manager for Convade and R82. And we are now joined via Skype with Kira Gwynn. Kira is 24 years old, originally from Wales. She studied product design in university, and in her final year designed what is now called the scallop. So welcome to the show, Kira.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, this is, I have to say, what a brilliant design for somebody, and you're so young, and it's just really an amazing thing you've done here. Tell
Clever.
us, very
So
clever.
clever.
Tell us the story behind it, how and why it was designed.
Okay, well, it all started with a little boy. I was volunteering at a museum building some robots with children out of scrap material. It was an open event, so for all kinds of children, anybody that wanted to join. And this little boy came in with his mother and his carer, and this little boy, Adam, had special needs. And I noticed that he was having trouble sitting on the chairs that were provided. He had his mum to one side and his carer to the other, and Adam kept sort of flopping, if you like, flopping to either side, slipping down in the chair, so mum or the carer kept propping him back up. And I noticed that, they couldn't leave Adam to go and get some other equipment, some other materials. So I went over and lent a hand, brought over some more materials, and we got chatting. And at first, I asked her if she wanted me to go and see if we had a wheelchair available in the museum. And she explained no, that Adam actually has a wheelchair, working chair at home, but she likes to get him out, and has the ability to walk if he has both hands held, and she likes to get him moving. And also with the wheelchairs, the tables that we had in the workshop for children were at a lower level, which would mean if Adam was in his wheelchair, he would have been at a higher level than all the other children involved. So she really wanted to keep him in that chair. And as the workshop got going and we continued chatting, and I learned that she hadn't found actually a product that she could take with her for Adam, something that was portable and light enough for her to carry, but something that also didn't limit his freedom. She wanted something that she could attach to a chair for Adam to give him a sense of security and to provide him with the support that he needed, but also not to limit his movement. So she wanted him to be able to reach and move and grab and play. And it struck me that at the time I was in my last year of university and I needed a project to work on, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought this could be a really great project to work with. So I asked her for her contact details, and I said to her that I'd like to go home and do some of my own research, and if this project was something that I thought was really viable to do, if I could contact her and ask any questions I had, and she was more than happy to help. So I went back and I did my own research, and I was surprised to find the more I dug into these products for children with special needs, I discovered that there was a bit of a gap in the market at the time where the products were missing for these children with mild to moderate disabilities. We sort of had this section where there was all very high-tech equipment that had a lot of accessories, were very expensive, and sort of at the higher end of the spectrum. But down the lower end, that seemed to be that gap missing, and especially around portability and keeping the products lightweight, being able for parents to really take them with them everywhere they go. And so I wrote to Adam's mother and asked if I could come and do some observations with her and her child. And she was more than happy to get involved. And we met, and I did some observations with Adam, and we went out and questionnaires and interviews. And then in university, a lot of sketch models later, so I made hundreds of card models and plastic cutouts. And I went back and forth between myself and Adam's mum testing and trying this product, until eventually I came to a shape that I thought was appropriate and well. And at that point I went further into my research, asking to get into schools and institutions where I was able to really widen my research and knowledge with therapists and parents and children and teachers in those special needs schools, and to really discover what it was that these parents and therapists and institutions all really wanted from a product. Mm-hmm. And well, I was surprised to find that I had four main goals that I really wanted to focus on, which was simplicity, mm-hmm. portability, versatility, and to keep it aesthetically pleasing, so to keep this product attractive. A lot of these children who I worked with, they were very verbal and very self-aware, and they didn't want to get into these seats that had a lot of straps, had a lot of harnesses, and sort of rung, I guess, alarm bells, if you like, and parents wanted something that was less severe and didn't scream special needs, if you like.
Yes. Tell us some of the stories and examples of families that have been using it.
Yeah, so I can take Adam, just so when I finally got to the point where I created the scallop shape and the form, I made a prototype, and we went to test it in a local cafe, and myself, Adam, and Adam's mum. And one of the main things I really wanted to focus on was the simplicity of this product. I demonstrated to Adam's mum how to use the scallop once. She took it with her. I shut up and held the video camera, and she put it together, strapped it on a chair. She took Adam out from his wheelchair, placed Adam in, strapped him up, and she then sat at the opposite end of the table and they ate a meal together. And this was really a huge emotional moment for Adam's mum, because normally she would have to sit next to Adam. If she wasn't with her carer, Adam's carer as well, she would have to wait for Adam to finish eating, and then she could eat herself. And at this moment, they both ate together, and Adam was safe and secure while sat in the scallop.
So a huge breakthrough for them. Tell us how it helps children with autism.
Yes, so our field tests have shown that children with autism feel more calm and relaxed while sat in the scallop. We, early on in the development of the scallop, we tested it in several institutions, and one in particular, one school for special needs children. There was a little boy with autism. He was 4 years old, and he tried the scallop out in a school environment. And without the scallop, what the teachers expressed first was that this little particular boy had trouble sitting still in circle time and also on the desks to concentrate on his work. He would often get up and run around, and the teacher would have to get him back into the chair. And also transition periods from one classroom to another, he found quite difficult. He particularly didn't like change. And so we tried the scallop for a 2-week period, and the results afterwards, when I got back from the teacher, were that they didn't want to give the scallop back. I felt so bad for taking it, but unfortunately it was a prototype. And the teacher expressed that this little boy, even though he could sit perfectly fine on a normal, typical chair, they strapped the scallop on, and the way the scallop works is when you lean back, the sides really tuck around you that provide this sort of hug-like, secure feeling. And this child, autistic children typically like the sense of security that we found, and that's what the scallop really provided. And also what was surprising, the transition period from one classroom to another in the school, the teacher said that this became 100 times more easy because the child actually felt an ownership of this product. He was able to unstrap it himself, take it like a little bag, as Milena demonstrated on the show. Little tote bag, he took it to his next classroom, he strapped it back on, and he sat comfortably in his chair. And also, of course, circle time, which is very important for young children. And this, what we found is the way you sit in the scallop on the floor, your instant reaction is to rock in it. It's very difficult to tip from side to side. You really can't do it. But you have this freedom of movement with the plastic shell that allows you to give this sort of bouncing, rocking-like feeling. And what we found is that children really, really like that sensation. One particular test we did in Denmark went with an occupational therapist from R82. We went to a special needs school and tried the scallop out with 4 children with autism. And we brought them in, and we had all the different sizes laid out on the floor, and instantly the children ran and jumped in them. And the first thing they do is they try to tip it backwards, so they start having fun in it for a while, and it is quite fun to rock in it as well. But what we found was that when they had an assembly, so all the children came to sit on the floor in a hall where the headmistress comes in and reads a story, or they tell about the day. And each group of children, each class, of course, has their teacher and a couple of helpers that sit with the children, and they tend to say that it's quite a difficult time to get the children to sit for long periods of time. And what they found was these children, they picked up the scallops, they took them to the assembly with them, put them on the floor, they sat there. And you could see, I was sat on the floor with the children during the assembly, and you could see all the teachers nudging each other and saying, gosh, look. And they were surprised that these children who tended to normally would get on their knees and flop into the W position, or the slouching frog, which is not good for their hamstrings, their hips, or their knees. And that's normally the way that these children would sit, and the teachers would come around and pull their legs out straight and try and get them to sit still. And in the scallop, they sat nice, long, seated position with their legs out straight, and they concentrated more. They found that their concentration levels increased because their movements weren't restricted, and they had this slight bounce that they were able to move, but they still had this feeling of secureness, and yeah, it really worked well.
Okay, well, tell us, let's talk about how our viewers can buy the scallop. Do we have a website or a number?
Yes, absolutely we do. The website is www.also4me.com, and that's our global website. But for anyone in North America who wants to buy one, just dial 844-US Mobility. Easy to remember, easy to dial.
And it does come in different sizes.
Yes, four sizes, and the fabric is reversible. So if you get a blue, you're also getting a red. It reverses. It's quite cute. And this one you can see here. This one comes in gray and green. So these are your color choices.
And tell us again about the giveaway, Shannon.
Yes, so if you want to win one, what you need to do is write to autism-live@gmail.com, say, I want the scallop, and then you need to give us your mailing address because eventually whoever is chosen, it will be mailed to them. And thank you so much. It's so gracious of Convey to have one of our viewers is going to win one of these. For those of you who won't win, because we're going to pick by random selection, but that we have growth charts that you can have that are scallop growth charts that you can have and put on your wall. I love to measure our kids, and I have to say we moved a couple of years ago. We stopped measuring, and it's such a fun thing to be able to do for the kids to be able to see how tall they're getting. So they're beautiful, but somebody's going to win a scallop. These are amazing. I can foresee a time when in the future everybody in a kindergarten class is going to have a scallop. Yeah. I mean, like that needs to happen.
That is the vision. That is the vision, and we're finding like different centers that deal with kids on the spectrum that they're just trying them out, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. The Shea Center, Equestrian Center has a few of them. Mm-hmm. They can't get enough of them. They really are having great success in keeping kids focused, and the kids are loving it. The moms are too.
And again, it does not have to be used by somebody who is on the spectrum or has physical. I mean, this is, as you said, people can take these and sit on them at a concert, anything where you want a little bit more support. Mm-hmm. And they're super cool. I wondered if one of you could show us, because I love the way things go together. Can one of you take one of them apart? Do you want to do it, Milena, or do you want Kira to do it?
Kira's the expert, but Kira, do you want to show them, or I can?
If you're going to do it, you should do it with this one, because the green on our green screen is buzzing out.
You know what? She has a great video.
We do.
She has a great video.
Do we have time to show the video?
Yeah. Samantha, let's show the video. Here we go. And there we go. We had actually Kira demonstrating in the video. Thank you, Kira.
It's okay.
And you see the brilliance of this design, and once again, we want to say we are giving this away. So if you want to, you can write into us.
autism-live@gmail.com. You have a week in which to do this. We're going to take a bunch of submissions because we know not everybody can watch live. Write into us and say, I want the scallop, and then you have to give us your mailing address, and then we will select a winner at random. And but we do need to have your mailing address. We want to thank Kira for being with us. We want to thank you
Melina
for being with us. We want to thank Convade. We want to thank Convade and R82,
right.
R82, because you guys are an amazing company doing amazing
coming
things.
up with wonderful designs to help our population assimilate more readily.
Thank you, and more to come. We'll be talking about a child restraint system that's coming out next month. That is also designed and manufactured in Europe. It's an R82 product, but we'll save that for next time.
Okay,
fabulous.
Save it for next time.
And I also want to say one more time the phone number if you are interested in buying a scallop, 844-US Mobility. And that's the number that you want to call to be able to do that.
Okay.
We're out of time,
We're out of time.
unfortunately. I want to remind everybody we're here tomorrow, and on tomorrow's live show, we have got Jai Lester, who's going to be with us from Calm Classroom. If you've been seeing, we've been talking about mindfulness and mindfulness in the classroom, and you've been seeing articles about the studies being done about this. Well, it's all coming from Calm Classroom. So Jai's going to be here with us to talk about how we teach mindfulness, how we teach it to ourselves and how we teach it to our kids and how we bring it into the classroom. It's going to be a really great discussion, that and ever so much more. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for now.